Hello and welcome to Flag on the Play, your quick hit of all things football, news, takes, touchdowns. I'm here with Billy, and I'm the Duke. Let's kick it off.
I am extremely excited about this. This is something I have been wanting to do for years, it feels like now, which is a football podcast and then eventually an all-around sports podcast. I've had a hard time finding somebody to take care of that and do it with me. And I think I found the perfect person in the Duke. And, Doug, I'm ready to get this started off the right way. And you understand that today was a very, very big day for football. You're correct on that, right?
Every day.
We're not talking about the fact that it is cut down day on rosters. All we're talking about is one of the biggest things ever happened in American football, the NFL. And that's Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are engaged, big dog.
I mean, good Lord Almighty. I saw that a lot of Swifties had to find it out from Adam Schefter first, and they were really surprised. I think that women, Swifties in particular, might be, or non-football fans, might be coming around to the fact that this is how psychotic sports fans are. They know before anybody else. If it is related to sports or somebody who plays a sport that they follow, they are going to get the news before almost anyone else. I mean, they have reporters literally sleeping under their bed, recording them snoring at night.
Since the Kansas City Chiefs became relevant, for the first time in my life, I have had the update notification from Ian Rappaport on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I've had it there the whole time. So every time a single little move that happens and Ian Rappaport reports on it, I get the notification immediately of it. So the fact that now the Swifties are kind of in and understanding that they're just watching every day, wondering when this is going to happen, is pretty cool, I think. I just wonder what they're going to do because, in my opinion, this is going to be Travis Kelce's last ride, which I think is going to make for a very interesting season for him.
Well, listen here, Billy. I'll tell you what I worry about. I worry about, if I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan like you are, I'm worrying about Travis Kelce's focus right now. We might have talked about it a little bit off the pod, but listen, the fact that like a wedding, we've both are married and have had weddings, and we know how much of a big deal those are. You are involved in many weddings and the planning phases of those. And the fact that he's going to probably be distracted, whether he hires a wedding planner. I'm sure that they'll have a million, assistants, helpers, whatever. I mean, she is a billionaire with a B.
Correct.
But I'm worried about his focus on football. He seems like a person who would be very opinionated on these types of things. He's going to want to be involved. And I'm worried about what his involvement is going to be with the Kansas City Chiefs during this tumultuous time. Or maybe they have a long engagement. Maybe they postpone the wedding till, after the football season. I think that that's what the fans in KC have to hope for if they're planning on any kind of big season from TK.
Why not have the wedding right in the middle of the Super Bowl? Our fourth Super Bowl in 8 years that we're about to win this year. Why not have it right in the middle of that? Screw a traditional halftime show. Let's just have a wedding.
Well, the buzz was circling about Taylor Swift potentially doing the Swifties and the conspiracy minded individuals on the internet have been looking at like hints, like on their New Heights podcast, her announcing her new album there, and also kind of doing a deep dive into some of the things she said, some of the things she referenced. It was speculated that she was going to be the performer. So imagine a Taylor Swift performance culminating with wedding vows. That would be probably the ultimate football player wedding as it be, especially if you're playing in the game. I'm assuming if he was playing in the game, he wouldn't be allowed out on the field at halftime. I mean, you can't, I know Andy Reid's got a soft spot for him. I can't imagine them, in a competitive mindset, trying to like break himself from that, hit the showers real quick, put on a tux, get out there to half field, midfield. Nobody's ever said half field ever in their lives. I don't know why I just said that. It sounds like a soccer term or a world football term.
Yeah, yeah, we're talking about American football here because that's what we like, even though soccer, whatever.
USA.
But yeah, it's a pretty big day, but we've got quite a few things to talk about here and kind of set some expectations of kind of the things you're going to hear on the podcast. This is like a preseason, kind of setup here. After that, we'll talk about week to week what's going on. But the first thing I want to talk about is something that you actually came up with: the three teams that will outperform expectations. And I want to know your thoughts on this. And because I think there's a few dark horses out there that I think we're going to see that I don't think people are expecting.
Well, I think you can't talk about the expectations without talking about the strength of schedule. It's been a hot topic for those following football in the preseason, specifically this year. I know it has been in years past too, but I feel like it's really ramped up this year as far as strength of schedule and just the disparity in the strength of schedule between the weakest schedule and the strongest schedule. I believe the 49ers having the weakest schedule currently. And then you have entire divisions like the NFC East, like they all have they all are considered, I believe, in the, top 15 hardest strength of schedules. So it's just it's a little crazy. With the Eagles, I believe, having the toughest or hardest strength of schedule in the league this year. So I mean, as far as teams that I think are going to outperform their expectations. I think we go one by one on this. I think we trade back and forth these. Um,
We can do that.
I think the first one's going to be the Tennessee Titans. It's a big kind of question mark how Cam Ward is going to perform. Is Tajay Spears going to be able to be healthy all season? Will they find some sort of pass threat in any of their receivers? And is their defense going to play up to snuff? I kind of like the little bit of team that they have. I mean, I don't have them getting into the playoffs. I think most people expect them to be bottom three in the league. I think they're going to surprise people. I think they're going to probably win between 6 and 8 games this year. And I think that's probably maybe double some projections. I think the Vegas odds on that would be pretty good. Um, if I
I mean,
go on.
well, I was going to say I mean, it's a terrible division and it's an easy division to kind of try to run with something with. I mean, you got 7 other games that you could be going against and hoping to win against your terrible division opponent. They're not very good. Jesus. God, this is a preseason episode.
What happened?
So Lauren just like knocked my camera. Um, back to what I was saying. With that though, Cam Ward, I'm not. Yeah, this is going to be the hot take, and this is something to kind of expect on this episode because I've got some really polarizing thoughts. And contrary to popular belief, I tend to be right about a lot of these. I'd give myself 90%, 9 out of 10. I'm right on.
I think you would give yourself that.
100%. I'm being nice. I really would like to give myself 100, but you got to be wrong every once in a while. Cam Ward is not the guy, I think. And I'll tell you why. So as you
don't believe anything coming out of camp about his leadership qualities, about the accountability with him first. I mean, that being a man goes a long way.
I think it's just a bunch of bullshit. It's the same as Caleb Williams coming in and he's different and he's going to be able to do that. I feel the same way about Cam Ward. The difference is I also thought Caleb Williams was going to suck, and that came out to be true. But I actually saw something from him in college. It was before USC, is when he played for Oklahoma. He played well. Cam Ward, on the other hand, I remember being at a wedding. I film weddings. I can't remember if we said that already, but I film weddings on the weekends. And I was at a wedding. Saturdays, it's for college football. It's the only time I got to watch college football. And I happened to watch a game. It was about 3/4 of the way through the season last year with Cam Ward in it. And the guy looked fucking awful. He looked sluggish. He looked like he didn't belong there. He looked like he didn't give a shit to be there. And I literally was like, okay, I don't get to watch a lot of college football because of the weddings. So I asked around the room, isn't this supposed to be like one of the number one, if not the number one guy coming out this year from college football. And they said yes. And it was Cam Ward. And I was like, what am I watching here? Because this guy doesn't look like he gives a shit at all. He doesn't care about the game. He doesn't care what happens. How is this the number one possible pick coming out next year when I'm seeing performance like this? I don't care what game it is. You don't put on a performance like that. We start liking that kind of response to somebody like Anthony Richardson who taps out in the middle of the fucking game. You don't do that. And that's what he did, minus taking himself off the field. So, in my
Well,
opinion,
listen,
Cam
that's
Ward's gonna be fine.
kind of a low blow to Anthony Richardson there. I don't know what he did to you. I'm going to go based off the Chat GPT rankings of this.
Okay.
And Chat GPT is predicting the Tennessee Titans as a 5-12 team. I think they're going to be a lot closer to 8-9 or 8-10, whatever it is this year. 8-9, right? It's the maths. I think it's going to be somewhere around there. I think they're about like a 7-8 win team. And I think a lot of those are going to come in the division. They do play in one of the weaker divisions. I don't think they're coming out a division winner, but I think they're going to outperform the expectations. And I actually like Cam Ward. Maybe we'll see how he plays in the regular season, but I like a lot of the tools that he's bringing. And I don't think there's been an overestimation of his abilities, like say with like Caleb Williams or maybe Trevor Lawrence type deal where like he had a good rookie season, but he's been just a disappointment ever since. But I just don't think anybody's, coming out firing on his ability. I think Shadur Sanders has had a lot to do with that, maybe taking the spotlight off of him, and JJ McCarthy coming back, and Bo Nix having such a breakout rookie season. Like I think there are a lot of factors that play into the reason why nobody's like kind of hyping him up. You don't really have to. It's not like a year where like there's a lack of headlines for young quarterbacks, but I think that Cam Ward, the Tennessee Titans, look for them to win, between 7 and 9 games this year, and I think outperform their expectations. I'll throw it over to you. Who's your first pick? Let's talk about it.
So I personally think that that's a good question.
Yeah, you put a lot of thought into it. I can tell.
So real quick, just because I had this on my mind with the Cam Ward situation, I am a firm believer in rookie quarterbacks sitting behind a veteran, even if it's not a good veteran, a veteran for at least a year. Half season at the absolute worst, similar to like a Baker Mayfield. He was not a guaranteed starter. He was still, number one or top 5 pick wherever he came out. He was still high up in there, had an incredible college career. I'm a firm believer, and he's at behind what, Tyrod Taylor or
I just think
Tatum, like not a good veteran, but he had time and experience to learn the NFL game.
Yeah,
People that don't
owners and teams don't buy that anymore, dude. Like if you go through the management chain from the owner to the GM, probably down to the jockstrap power washer in the locker room, like nobody wants to wait for a quarterback to develop into an NFL talent. He needs to come
But then
in,
you
be
turn
draft
into an
ready.
Anthony Richardson, you turn into a Caleb Williams, you turn into CJ Stroud, who did not look good last year. He had a great rookie year and then did not look good. Is this his second or third year he's going into? He hasn't looked good since that one season. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying that the ticket sales are going to dictate what teams are going to do, and they're dictating that you start rookie QBs. People are really, the college game is a big deal, and they're trying to get people to transition from only, diehard college fans to the NFL, as well as trying to keep the NFL as interesting as possible. They don't want they don't want fan bases to see their team as coming into the season with the expectation to lose almost every game they play, with the exception of maybe the Indianapolis Colts, who I think are setting that expectation early this season, with everything going on there, and potentially also the New Orleans Saints. I just think that they're a mess of a franchise. I think they did the whole like sellout for a Super Bowl thing, and their organization's been in shambles ever since. But that's not super important or relevant here. I just mean, I think that if you want to get people in the stands, asses in seats, you have to, you got to start rookies. You got to give people something to be fired up about. Nobody's going to come to a game and get excited about Tyrod Taylor. You know what you're going to get with Tyrod Taylor. It's consistent. It's below average. With flashes of average to slightly above average sometimes. I don't even say slightly above average. I say flashes of average with Tyrod Taylor. Or like, any kin quarterback to that. I mean, I just, you're trial by fire as far as it goes. You mentioned a lot of QBs there that maybe have come in and been expected to do a lot and didn't get to sit behind a veteran and learn the game, and they, flamed out, but that's not what teams are counting on. Teams are counting on the 1 in a million guy, the Joe Burrow, the Andrew Luck type player, even,
Did Joe Burrow start immediately on his rookie season?
yeah, I believe he
Okay.
did. And
That's an anomaly there then.
I mean, you have those type of players who are capable in the NFL.
I,
I mean, even you can argue RG3 pre knee injury was that guy. Kirk Cousins, when he had the opportunity to start, he wasn't sitting behind a veteran, and he kind of performed. Jaden Daniels, a lot of Commanders, honestly.
Dane
Um,
Daniels sat though. Dane Daniels, did he not sit?
I don't think last year was his rookie season. No,
Was it? I
yeah,
thought that was his second season.
no, that had to be his rookie season,
We'll
dude.
have to start fact checking. We're going to need a producer on this show to
Yeah, we're
fact
gonna
check
need a
this.
super producer. If that was Jaden Daniels' second year, I'm absolutely. Did he not win Rookie of the Year last year? Am I crazy? 2024 rookie
You're
season.
right. He was up for rookie of the year. I don't know that he won it. You're right. It was his rookie year. I think some of those I predict, and we'll talk about that because that's going to be one that's going to come up with Jaden Daniels and part of this conversation we have. But I think some things are a fluke. I don't necessarily think that with like a CJ Stroud. I think they just had bad luck, but I also think it was sort of a fluke. But we'll move on from that, and we'll see what happens.
All right, I can go to team number 2 if you'd like. I know that you wanted to talk about.
I have a second team. I have a second team.
Well, this would be your first team, just so we're clear.
Oh, well, for my first team, then, the New England Patriots.
The New England Patriots. Now, I'm gonna let you know early their projected record, according to ChatGPT, 6-11. So you think they're outperforming 6-11?
I think in this case, ChatGPT is wrong. I think they finally have a solid coach there.
Mm-hmm.
Since Bill Belichick, somebody who's very familiar with the organization, somebody who took a really shitty team, made them really good, and somehow got fired. And now look at that team. They got Cam Ward and the hopes of everybody on his backs. I think Vrabel is a phenomenal coach. I loved him as a player. I loved him as a coach. I wish he could be like at Kansas City as an assistant of some sort. But I think we got another year of Drake May, who I don't think looks great. I don't think Drake May's the answer.
I'm not sold on
But
Drake May either. I'll piggyback
but I
off you there.
think
I'm not
he
sold.
is
He's got
better
talent.
than some people that are out there. He's got some talent, and I think he now has the right coach to do it. That's a defensive minded guy, and it was shown with the Eagles last year, and not with. I mean, even the Chiefs. Those two teams that were in that Super Bowl had two of the top defensive sets in the entire fucking NFL. So when it comes to the Patriots, we now have this defensive guy who's just going to make sure that defense is back to where it used to be with the Belichick era, and then also start molding that offense. I don't remember, this is going to sound really bad when talking about this. I don't remember who their OC is now, but if I'm not mistaken, it's somebody who is very, very good with offenses. And I think that team is going to turn around. You also look at that division. I don't think the Jets are going to do anything. I think the Miami Dolphins had their chance to do something, and that time has come and passed as long as Tua remains quarterback in that with that team. And then I think the Buffalo Bills are still going to win the division, but I don't think we're going to see the same Bills that we've seen in the past couple of years. I think we're going to see the same Josh Allen, who's going to put everything out there as much as I fucking can't stand him. He's going to put everything out there, put the team on his goddamn back. But who the fuck is he throwing to?
You think Josh Allen and the Bills go a Khalil Shakir? I think is the wide receiver 1 on the team right now. You think that I think Keon Coleman is he either injured or just wasn't up to their expectations, but you think that maybe the Bills go into Foxborough and take a big L this year?
I think it's possible they could split a game. I think they lose that Foxborough game. I think it's
Interesting.
highly possible. New England Patriots. It's something with Vrabel, man. Again, he took Ryan Tannehill. What a dog shit quarterback, right? And he took him and said, "You're going to be good.
I don't
We're
know
going to make you
that.
good."
I don't know
And
that
I
dog
think
shit
this
is the
man
right
has
term for that.
been
Can we put a little bit of respect on Ryan Tannehill? He's
I like
potentially
Tannehill. I really do, but
he's very middle of the road. I will say that he reminiscent of a Chad Pennington, a Drew
I
Bledsoe.
think he's better than Chad Pennington. I think he's probably on that Bledsoe line, though. We'll say that. And he
I think
he
you're
was a
yeah. I
great
think you need to put a little bit of respect on Chad Pennington's name. All right, he was better than his record may. What is his all time record? You keep talking. I'm going to look up Chad Pennington's all
gotta
time.
be 50%. But yeah, so for me, the Patriots, I think a lot of major moves. Um, really, yeah. I mean, again, quarterback's not it, but I'm it's Vrabel. It's really Vrabel, and I think
I love
he
Rapes.
makes it everything. Um, I even forgot he was a Chief at one point. You know, he came and played for us a little bit during our bad times, but uh yeah, I'm trying to look at their roster here real quick, and I don't know what fucking order that they put this in, but I think the coach overall is going to take a team because as soon as he wasn't the coach of Tennessee, that team went to shit with essentially the same team, but unfortunately a mayo and coffee loving quarterback. And that clearly didn't work out. So outside of that, though, we're talking about the same fucking team. You know, they send us DeAndre Hopkins. He's basically fucking done. Um, Everything just kind of goes to shit, except when Vrabel was the head coach.
Pennington 44 and 37 all time.
Wow,
In
way
his
better than I expected.
in his 11 years, dude. Yeah, we need to put some respect on his name. He also has a
I try to put some respect on
66% completion percentage. That's pretty good. That's kind of like in the Breeze esque
better than Mahomes
territory, dude. I mean, he's a little bit goaded if we're being quite honest. Averaged 200 yards a game throwing, which isn't I mean, for the era that he played in, right? That's pretty good. Probably above average. I just think we need to respect Chad Pennington a little bit more.
I'll do my best, and while I do my best, go ahead and give me your second team that will outperform expectations.
Real quick before then, so 6-11 is the Chat GPT record preseason record prediction. Where do you think they're going from 6-11? How
an 8-9?
You're looking at 8
in
now.
that division, just not give the Jets and the Dolphins. I predict the Jets will finish last in the division.
Like a lot of people do.
Finish second to last, and I think the New England Patriots are going to be second at about 8-9. I think they're going to take the place of the Dolphins of last year.
Okay, you think that's good enough for a playoff spot?
No, and you know, when we talk about even somebody like Cam Ward, I totally get it. You know, who's going to sell tickets, who's going to start. This team needs to understand that they are going through a whole new regime here. This could be the start of potentially bringing the Patriots back on the map, but I don't see we're going to be playoff contenders year one. I think Braves is going to do some work. He's going to see what he's got. I'm interested to see what they do in the middle of the season at the trade deadline and see if there's any big roster moves made there to help strengthen that team. And then I think they're going to finish out about a 50% team. Could they be 9-8? Sure. But we got to remember too, the AFC is the powerhouse of the NFL. And I don't think 8-9, 9-8 is going to be good enough to get a team in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Because I think there's a lot of solid talent coming out of the AFC this year.
What do you think the line is? 10 games? Over under 10 games?
Under.
You think under 10 games to make the playoffs?
For the playoffs. Oh no.
Or 9.5, I guess we have to put the line at 9.5 games. I think 10.
Yeah, I think it'd be over. I think you got to be over that to make playoffs.
Yeah, I think you got to be 10. I think you got to be a 10 game winner to.
It depends because we look at something we didn't have here, which is interesting. But when we really look at this and we break it down by division, like, you know, in the past, nearly all 4 teams from the AFC West have made it. The AFC North is a powerhouse division as well. Every team but the Browns have the opportunity to make the playoffs this year.
Mm-hmm.
We're well aware at 3-14, that's their best in many years last year. So I don't see, we got 3 teams from there, potentially 3 from the West, Buffalo, that's your playoffs right there.
Well,
We started talking
let's
about
save that. Let's save that
yeah.
because that is a topic that we do want to talk about is the way too early
Yeah.
playoff predictions. So let's save
Yeah,
that
I
for
can
later.
see that. You're right. You're right. So,
Um,
yeah. So the New England Patriots. So who is your second? Are we going to talk about an NFC team at all? Do you have one?
yeah, actually, this next one that I have queued up is an
Okay.
NFC team. I think the Los Angeles Rams are they're
Outperform.
yeah, absolutely, because they're currently sitting at ChatGPT because we're just going off ChatGPT
Hey, let's do it.
predictions. They're at 9-8. And I think the Los Angeles Rams are a better than 9-8 team. I think they're closer to a 12-win team. I think the 49ers are not going to perform how everyone thinks they're going to perform. I think the 49ers are not going to win the division. I think the Rams are going to win that division. I think they're going to win it handily if they can stay healthy. I think their roster top to bottom has veteran players who are gritty and tough and, they have some speed where it counts. You have a young Puka Nakua. You have a veteran Devonte Adams who's an elite route runner. Puka can get in between the numbers and the seams and really do some damage there. If Matt Stafford has the ability to stay healthy, the combination of those three as well as Kyron Williams in the backfield, I mean, that's just it's pretty elite as far as if you look at the arm talent of Matt Stafford, I mean, I think that those guys are going to be able to put up points with most any team they face, maybe with the exception of one or two teams, but they're going to be able to put up points on pretty much any defense they want to in the NFL. And they have, they have Jared Verse, who's I think he's a force. I love Jared Verse as a linebacker. I'm not sure if he's a defensive captain, but if he's not, he should be. Um, they can block. They have good line on both sides. Um, I think the only thing that's ever holding them back is potentially injuries. But even that, as long as they happen early in the season, as long as they don't catch late injuries, the Rams have shown that they're a team that will go out and make moves and spend money in the middle of the season if they think that they can sell out to win football games. So I think that top to bottom, the ownership and the general manager of the Rams are positioned in a way that they're probably selling out to win games at this point. They brought in Devonte Adams, an aging person. They still have Matthew Stafford, an aging QB. I think they're on the relevancy train right now. They're kind of like teetering, and they want to make a big splash. I think they're motivated. I think they have good young talent in some spots, and I think they have a lot of veteran leadership. I think they're going to be a 12 win team at somewhere around there this year, and I think they're going to outperform the expectations. I think they're the NFC division winner as well. Um,
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. I don't think their Super Bowl a few years ago, and I know that kind of hurt you. We haven't
oh
said it
yeah,
yet, but you are a Bengals fan. Um,
unfortunate.
so that was a rough one for you, but I don't think that was a fluke at all. And I think the team is better than it was then. They have one of the best head coaches in the entire league, leading them. And then Stafford has proven time and time again he was just on the Lions during the wrong era.
He's a weapon,
Uh,
dude. Stafford's a weapon.
but even when he was with the Lions, he was great. The team was just not.
Stafford, another
And
guy who just came in and immediately played well. So that's we have Burrow, Luck, and Stafford now. Forgot about Stafford. Didn't give him enough credit, but Stafford is elite. I think he's a top 10 quarterback all time, and people don't talk about it enough.
I think he could be there. We'll have a moment on this show, not today, but at some point that we can talk about that. That's a good one. But yeah, I'm with you there. I've got another NFC one I'd like to talk about is my team number 2.
All right, bring it on.
I think this will come as a surprise to many people, and that is the Carolina Panthers.
Carolina projected at 7-10 via
Yeah, I
ChatGPT.
I think another 8 to possibly 9 win
I
team.
also think ChatGPT is aiming high for the 7-10. I don't think Carolina fans are expecting 7-10 out of their team. Maybe only
Well,
Carolina fans. I think anybody out like in their division, if you're Atlanta, you're looking at Carolina and saying you better hope you win 4 games. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody is really expecting that much of a splash out of Carolina. But go on, sorry.
I think it's expected. So the Bucks are clearly the top of that division. I love Baker Mayfield. He's one of my favorite players to watch right now. I love some of the veterans on the Buccaneers, but We got them, the Falcons. I'm interested to see what Penix does, but the Panthers, I think could overseat that number 2 spot in that division and be that kind of, point 0.5, on the in the win column team. I think I was not convinced with give me a second.
No worries. So one thing while you're gathering yourself, I do want to say is I think the resurgence of Bryce Young, like the mental fortitude of that kid to be able to be benched and replaced the way he did and then come back in and ball out, I think that says a lot about him as a leader. I really like
You
that about
just
Bryce Young.
you just helped me out. I knew it was Bryce and I couldn't think of his last name for whatever reason. I got to watch him and not a very good team almost beat us for our first loss, I believe. I don't think we had lost to Buffalo yet. Almost beat us last year. And what I saw out of him was a quarterback I think people wanted. And again, it kind of goes to the whole point of maybe sit this quarterback. He didn't sit at first. They had him sit. They had what? Andy Dalton in there. Was that the quarterback during part of that
The
time?
Red Rifle dude, he's played for about every team in the
Exactly.
NFL. But he's potentially the next Ryan Fitzpatrick if he plays for about
He's
3 or 4 more teams.
he's got his moments, whatever. But I think again, sitting behind a veteran that has been around the league and has like expectations from all these great head coaches, maybe throughout the years, or great organizations at least, that moment changed everything for Bryce Young.
Yeah.
And I was incredibly impressed from that game with Kansas City on to the rest of the season. Their win column last year does not show it. I think, again, this is an 8 or 9 win team. Once again, they're not going to make headlines. I'm hearing talks about possibly trading Adam Thielen if they can find a team to pay for that contract.
Well, they
So there's
have
some things
they have
that they
about
have
10,
issues with.
like I feel like they have like 10 receivers in their first or second year of their deal. I mean, they got to get some continuity in their wide receiver room. I mean,
They got to get
Thielen might
continuity
not
on
be
the
the
end.
guy
They
to
like,
keep it around, but like, they have McMillan coming in as a rookie.
yep,
Who was the speedy rookie they had last year? Xavier Leggett, I think was his name.
yep.
Um, I mean, they have a lot of volatility in that receiver room. I'd worry about that. I mean, you can't put it on. Uh, Bryce Young is the next Justin Fields if they make him scramble for his whole life. He needs to sit back in the pocket and
I
uh,
agree with that.
throw some dots, as they say in the Madden world.
But he made some plays last year and he had some really good looking throws as well. I mean, new age era though, you got to look at some of the quarterbacks that are really, out there that are some of your top guys outside of maybe Joe Burrow himself. And that's Josh Allen who can work the pocket and move outside the pocket and make it happen. You got Lamar Jackson who can, work the pocket, move outside the pocket. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, in my opinion, the best to ever do it. Work the pocket, move outside the pocket. So if they could channel that in Bryce Young, I don't think we're looking at a top 10 quarterback, but I think he's going to be playing to win, and I think he's going to play well. And that's why they're my surprise team that's going to outperform expectations. I
Yeah,
don't
I
think
just
anybody's expecting that, but I saw some great things last year, and I think we're going to see it, amp up even more this year.
just a note: Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, those guys. I know you mentioned them with Joe Burrow, but they're getting outside the pocket to extend plays. Joe Burrow's getting outside the pocket because he has 1.2
Fighting for his
seconds
life.
before the protection breaks down. And it sucks because a lot of times when they have nationally televised games, the line won't play too bad for some of the night. And they'll be like, oh, Burrow's got plenty of time, have like 7 seconds or whatever, but it'll be on like a throwaway play or some like 3rd and 30. And it's like, all right, well, what are we expecting here? It's not super important, but just want to touch on that like, all situations are not created equal. I'll segue right into my last team
Okay.
here, and that's a team in the same division as the Carolina Panthers. It's the Atlanta Falcons. And this might come as a surprise. But the ATL I think is on the come up. I think they have some middling, like middle aged, like not like old veteran, still pretty young veteran defensive players like Jesse Bates and company. And then I like the way that their offense is shaping up. If I think if Penix is obviously the key, but if he can play like he was playing at the end of last season, this season, ChatGPT has him going 9-8. I think that they can go 10-7, maybe a little bit outperform that, but I think they can win the division. I don't think that it's out of bounds to say that the Buccaneers may have a down year this year. I mean, Baker can only have so many years in him. I think he's a little bit older than everybody remembers because of his days in Cleveland and like kind of bouncing around, and he's kind of like found his sea legs in Tampa, and he's well respected there, and he's got a few more years left in him, but I think he's a little bit older, and he plays with a lot of intensity and a lot of stress on his body, and I think they're due to just have a down year. Um, and so I just got Atlanta. I just like the makeup of Atlanta. Bijan, I think Drake London can have a good year. If Kyle Pitts ever comes around, that'd be crazy, dude. But if we're talking about in the first couple weeks, if Kyle Pitts isn't performing, I think you ship him for anybody. Like for a Mike Gesicki type, not Mike Gesicki. I think the Bengals are pretty set there. As far as like, I don't think that they're going to go after a Kyle Pitts type, but like, just somebody in the same vein as Gesicki, a more athletic, maybe not absolute freak tight end. Um,
Who
Maybe a
who
Dalton
is
Schultz.
who is their offensive coordinator? Do we know that? Do we know that offhand?
The Falcons offensive coordinator.
Yeah, because I
Um,
mean they have a defensive minded head coach. Their point differential last year was -34. Um, I don't think it's terrible for a team like that. I mean, they went 8-9.
it's
Uh,
Zach Robinson.
I don't
Um,
know who that is, so that doesn't help me at all.
he was a he comes from the McVay coaching tree. He's came over from the
Okay.
Rams. Um,
So maybe a shot to get that offense. I'm not sold on Michael Penix. Part of it's because he's a lefty. No offense to all the lefties out there, but I've only seen one that I really enjoyed watching play, and that was Michael Vick. Outside of that, you give me a lefty on Madden, I'm fucked. I can't throw that ball.
well, good thing you're
Uh,
not playing Madden. I think there are a lot of good left-handed quarterbacks. I mean, I'm not. You obviously have your busts. I say busts with quotation marks. You have your Matt Leinarts, your Tim Tebows, but you have
Tagovailoa,
good old Mark Brunell was an absolute cannon. You know,
it's just a
in
nostalgia
his
thing
day.
to me. Sure.
Steve Young was a lefty, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Okay. He was a lefty. You are
It,
correct. I stand corrected on that one. Steve Young, great quarterback.
yeah. Other than that, that might be the only three left-handed, 4 or 5 left-handed quarterbacks I know. And Steve Young, Mike Vick, Mark Brunell, Tim Tebow, Matt Leinart. I can't remember another one. Oh, you said Tua, yeah, Tua.
Tebow was not all that great in the NFL, though.
Well, yeah,
Tebow had his
that's what I'm
moments of
saying. I'm saying
shine.
like obviously they're not good examples of NFL success, but Steve Young is. Steve Young. I mean, the greatest
I'm
college
interested.
football player
I
of all
don't.
time is Tim Tebow. Just so we're clear, so we don't have to talk about that now.
Yeah, I'm
But
an Oklahoma fan. Let's not talk about that. Joe Burrow and Tim Tebow absolutely embarrassed the shit out of us. So I think for the first one on this list, at least as far as from me to you, I just agree with you. I think the Bucks still hold that division. I think they sit right about where they are at 8-9 from last year. But that'll be interesting to see. You said 10, 10, 11
I say
wins.
10 because we're trying to go over the record, right? But I think in reality, I think the Falcons have a shot to win the division. So I would say that would be
Okay.
outperforming expectations if they win that division, especially
That I
over the
mean,
Bucks.
10 wins typically that 10 win mark is about what wins that division because it's so bad.
Well, let's
There's
call it
they're
competitive,
kind of
right?
like the
They're just
new.
they're competitive.
So the Saints are competitive. What we're
I'm
saying.
not saying the Saints are competitive. I'm saying the division is competitive, right? They beat each other up a lot. The inner I feel like everybody in that division kind of splits their division games. Like they're all pretty like baseline even at the end of the year, and it just depends on who they're playing. Out of conference
Four
or
and two, 4-2, 2-4, 2-4. Those are the division records from Bucks, Falcons, Panthers, and Saints.
well, there you go. That's pretty split. I mean, you're talking about like the
Um,
Saints are a terrible team. Panthers were a bad team.
I mean, they were 2-4 in their division. Wonder who they beat. Probably the Panthers. I don't know. All right. My last one. Um, God, I hate to say this. But outperformed expectations, I think, has to be the Raiders.
I
I
like
think
that pick,
they're
actually.
going
I like that a
to.
lot.
I think they're going to be second in the division. I don't think any of these teams anytime soon are going to even consider. I mean, they consider it every year, but nobody's going to dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs, at least as far as that team stands. If major changes happen, like coaching or somebody fucking, wants to commit career,
6-11, by the way.
suicide,
6-11 is what their projected
chat
record is.
GPT.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to be a 9 or 10 win team. I really do think, depending on how this year goes, that they can dethrone, the Chargers or the Broncos for second place.
I honestly don't think you mean
And
that. I don't
I
believe
do.
you right now. Hold on, let's
I do. So
let's
do you
go
want to know
through.
why? I have reasons why I think that.
All right, you give me the reasons, and then afterwards we're going to go through their schedule, and we're just going to do a win-loss counter.
Sure. So they got Pete Carroll as their coach. Now, I don't think Pete Carroll did the greatest job at the end of his tenure in Seattle. But they brought in a quarterback. The Raiders have had a pretty decent defense most of these years.
Mhm.
And the one thing that they struggled with was they didn't have anybody throw the fucking ball. So Adams leaves, because Derek Carr is gone, who also sucked. And then they've been through the last 3 or 4 years a string of just nobodies. Like
And
these
who's
people
starting for him
should
this
not
year?
be. Geno Smith,
He's a somebody,
which I
huh?
like. I don't think Geno Smith is great, but I think he is an above average quarterback who can make something happen.
Okay.
And with the right pieces in place, as far as receivers, I mean, they have potentially the new tight end one of the NFL right there for Geno to throw to. So that's all you really need. And then who's a running back? Is it still Jacobs or did he leave?
Ashton Genty, some would say. Jacobs plays for the Packers.
Yep. Yep. You're right.
Yeah, that's a little
Who was the
embarrassing for
running
a
back
football
last year?
podcast.
Yeah, it is. So Genty,
I think they had a split backfield last year.
yeah, it was all over the place. I'm still seeing that. I mean,
It was
it's a
Zamir
fucking
White and
Green Bay Packers.
somebody else. Zamir White and Alexander Madison, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, I do believe you're correct. I'm looking at having a good quarterback. Bowers was on fire with nobody last year,
Mhm.
and now he has opportunity to have a good quarterback there that can at least get him the ball. Again, their defense is, probably with the right coaching, which Pete Carroll and company that he brings in might be able to turn that defense into what they are or better than what they are. Um, I could see them easily being a top 9 to 7 defense, which is pretty good if your offense can score fucking points. I absolutely despise Max Crosby, but he is arguably one of the best defensive ends to ever play in the fucking game.
I think that
Um,
that's kind of a hot take to despise him. I mean,
I can't stand him. He plays for the fucking Raiders. I hate this entire team, and I hate fucking silver and black. Black and silver used to be black and red, whatever. Used to be the colors I would make my uniforms in Madden, but can't stand it now because I hate the fucking Raiders. I just can't stand this
all
team
right,
is ass,
let's
but
let's
I think they're going to
let's walk you through their
outperform.
season. Yeah, I'm with you. Let's walk you through their
Go
season
ahead.
though.
Let's
All
take a
right,
look at it. Go
all
ahead.
right. Week 1 at New England.
Um,
It's a 1 p.m. game at New England.
at New England, I think New England wins that, so they lose that.
All right,
I
so
think it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be a 24-20 game.
okay, but loss.
I'm not going to go through all of them and say the scores, but I think they lose. I think it's going to be close.
Yeah. Uh, at home against the Chargers. 10 p.m. game. Eastern.
10 p.m.
Eastern.
What? Okay, that's
So that's
confusing to me.
7 p.m. It's a Monday night. You know they have the late game, the like late game on Mondays.
Yeah, but when do we have Monday night games starting at 10 o'clock?
It's starting at 7 o'clock West Coast time, Pacific.
crazy. I think they beat the Chargers.
Okay, so yeah, you think they beat the
Is that
Chargers?
that's at home,
Yeah,
right?
that's at home.
I
I'll
think they'll split the Chargers. So
well,
let's
hold
say
on.
they
Let's
beat the
let's just
Chargers.
go one by one so we can walk through.
Go ahead, go ahead, go
All
ahead.
right,
All right, so we're at 1-1.
at Washington, 1 p.m. game.
I think they beat Washington.
You think they
Hot
beat
take.
Washington?
I think they
Okay.
beat Washington.
At home against Chicago.
I think they beat Chicago. That's easy.
All right.
Chicago
At
Mahomes.
Indianapolis.
At Indianapolis, I think they can win that.
You think they can or will? Because it's
I think they will.
okay.
I think they win that.
At home against Tennessee.
They win that.
At Kansas City.
Lose.
At home against Jacksonville.
Win.
At Denver.
Lose.
That's a primetime game as well, just so you know. I don't know if primetime games matter to you or not. They do to me.
No, but being in Denver, Denver's a different beast, and Denver's going into their second. I think Denver's going to be good too, but I don't think they're going to be as good as people think they're going to be.
Primetime at home against Dallas.
That's a tough one. If both teams go in healthy, I think Dallas can come out with that win.
Okay, so we'll count it as a loss for them.
Yeah.
At home against Cleveland, I'm assuming that's going to be a win for you.
They win. Yep.
You said they're going to split with the Chargers, so this would be at the Chargers. That's a loss. At home against Denver.
I still think they somehow lose to Denver, even though I'm saying they're going to take second place in the division.
All right. At Philadelphia.
Lose.
At Houston.
Boy, that's going to be a close one.
You think that's going to be a close one, huh?
I do. I don't have the faith in Houston right now. I just don't. But I don't have enough faith in Raiders say they're going to win. Where is it? It's at
Houston.
It's at Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Being that it's there, I'm going to say they lose that one.
All right. Versus New York, I'm assuming that's going to be a win for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no matter which team.
And then home against Kansas City.
Lose.
Okay, so that's 8. That's 8 wins that you have there.
Hmm.
So they need to find.
Too.
Yeah.
I think the Houston could be an interesting one. I said they lose that one, right?
Yeah. See, the ones you were on the fence about: Houston, the at home against Denver, and you seemed unconvinced about the Dallas game as well. Those were the 3.
Yeah, I'm not convinced Dallas is going to be healthy. If Dallas is healthy, I think Dallas could win it. I'm interested because that Dallas game also is, what was that, 3/4 of the way through the season? The team's got to have it figured out by then. I think they're going to be a dark horse team.
That's the week before Thanksgiving game versus Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas is worried about that Thanksgiving game. They win that one then.
You think?
Dallas has to win on Thanksgiving. Yeah, it's a big game.
I have them beating New England. If this was me, I'll go through it real quick just so you can expose me. I would say that they beat New England week 1. I just think that I think they're going to figure out their running game, and I think their running game is going to be better than New England. I think the running game is really valuable at the very beginning and very end of the year. And I think in between those two things is where like the passing game comes in. I think they're going to lose to Los Angeles. I think they're going to lose to Washington. I think they're going to beat Chicago. I think they're going to beat Indy, beat Tennessee. So that's 4 wins. Lose to Kansas.
3 wins. You said they beat New England or lose to New England?
Yeah, beat New England, Chicago, Indianapolis, Tennessee.
So 4-2.
Yeah, so they're starting off pretty hot, and then they're going to lose to Kansas City. I think they lose to Jacksonville at home. I just feel like for whatever reason, like I know it says it's a home game. I feel like that's a London game. I don't know why.
Probably. I mean, that is their second home.
Somewhere
4-4.
Lose at Denver for sure. Lose against Dallas, so 4-6. I think they can beat Cleveland, so 5-6. I think they lose to Los Angeles, so 5-7. Lose to Denver, 5-8. Lose to Philly, 5-9. Lose to Houston, 5-10. I think they can beat New York, 6-10, and I think they lose to Kansas City, so 6-11 is where I have them at. Which is, I think, right on par with ChatGPT, if I'm not mistaken.
pretty close, if not.
It is the exact record. So that's where I have them. Me and ChatGPT are in sync right now.
All right, so let's talk about our three teams that we think will underperform expectations this year.
All right. Well, I'll let you go first on this one if you'd like to. I'll give you honors.
Okay, so I kind of alluded to it earlier, but the Buffalo Bills, I think they are 11 win team this year. I think they just don't have all the pieces there. I think once again, Josh Allen's going to put the team on his back, but
I will
my
let you know
biggest concern
12 and
right now,
5 is the ChatGPT prediction. 12 and
okay,
5.
I'm at 11-6 there. I still think they win the division, but I don't think they're the team that we've been seeing for quite some time. Still going to put up a good fight against these top teams, but they're going to struggle a bit this year.
Yeah, so you're going to go with the Buffalo Bills to start out the list. I am going to go in a slightly similar direction. I would I think it's a similar direction. I'm not entirely sure if it's similar. I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. And by that, I mean, as similar as just like a team that everybody expects to just like plow through. I think obviously they're in the toughest division in football this year for sure, with Washington and Dallas. I think that their division record is not going to be spotless this year. Uh, I have a lot of faith in Washington and Dallas for whatever reason. I say faith. I just see them being better teams than they were last year, and I don't think Philadelphia significantly improved. Um, they do have Saquon, they do have Hurts, they do have the duo of wide receivers and AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, and they do have the stout defense. I just think they get figured out a little bit. I think that they're going to have to make some midseason adjustments. So I think that they probably start off. I think they'll come out of the gate maybe hot for the first 2 or 3 weeks. I think that they will have a hard beginning to the season though. I think I can see them starting at like 3 and 5 or so mark, and then everybody panicking, saying what's wrong with the Philadelphia Eagles, and then I think that they'll end probably second in the division. I don't think they're going to win that division this year. I don't really haven't thought about too much who's going to win, but I do believe that the Eagles will not win, and ChatGPT has them at 12 and 5. Um, I think that their fan base has them at probably something like 17 and 0. I think the general public probably has them at like a 14 win team. I think they're going to be 10. I think they're going to be a 10-win team. Similar, a lot, very, very similar to the your take on the Bills. I think they're just going to be a 10-win team. I also think that the longer that they rely on the tush push, brotherly shove, whatever you want to call it, the absolute leverage play that they allow offenses to do, that they ban from all defensive plays. I think the more that they do that, number one, the higher risk of injury to Jalen Hurts and potentially some of their, interior offensive linemen. And then number two, I think that it's just not going to be as effective. I think that you're going to see a more concerted effort from defenses. Not to say that there wasn't before, but I think that they're going to look a lot into the earlier downs, and they're not going to be in as many 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 in inches and whatnot positions where they can actually run that play. And that's going to be, that's going to be a significant impact to them. Um,
It's funny you say that because that was a team I also thought about as underperform, and I still kind of think they do. I disagree with you slightly. I think they're still going to be a 12-win team, but I agree with why you think that. I think people are going to figure them out. If you watch the draft, a lot of teams realize what does work for them, and they also did the same thing. So now who's going to do it better? A
yeah.
lot of teams, a lot of defensive and offensive linemen went off the board in the draft. The few quarterbacks that were predicted to be, top runners there, a couple receivers here and there, but there was a ton of offensive and defensive linemen. And I just don't believe that Sirianni is that good of a coach. I think he's done a great job. Don't get me wrong. Clearly, they've got a ring. They're playing in the weakest conference in NFL. They do play in a tough division, which they tend to kind of top there, but
I think that's a
the
topic that
AFC,
we need to talk about maybe on the next show is the conference strength. I think we need to take a little bit of a
yeah,
look at that.
I agree.
I think it's closer than we're making it out to seem, but in general, I do also think that the AFC is a stronger conference, but maybe it's a lot like some other sports where people don't really do too much of a deep dive into the talent. So I think that's something we should look at. But sorry to cut you off. You can go
No,
continue.
you're fine. You're fine. Uh, so to kind of go off that though, we're going to stay in that same division, and underperforming to me is going to be the Commanders.
Mm.
Um, I will preface this by saying what I watched last year was nothing short of incredible for that fucking franchise. I hate them a bit because I live here, and that's all I've ever heard since the moment I moved here. But I'm sure it'd be the same if somebody moved to Kansas City. That's all they're going to hear. So,
Yeah, dude, I'm drinking the
Jason Owen,
juice. I'm drinking the juice on that. I think the
I
Commanders
like
are
Jaden a
good.
lot. I watched some
I like their defense.
truly miracle plays happen. Their defense is great.
I like Luvu, dude. I think Commanders fans don't have a lot of faith in their secondary, probably
I,
rightfully so. Maybe a little bit
yep.
of Swiss cheese, but I mean their defensive front is pretty solid.
I think there's great pieces there.
I think
I also
they
think
play on the edge.
outside of their own division, they played a pretty easy schedule last year.
Yeah, I think they play on the edge. I think what I like about their defensive front is I think that a lot of those guys play on the edge of getting a personal foul every play. And that's kind of how
That's
you,
good football, in
yeah,
my opinion.
that's
Great
kind of how you
football.
got to play. That's how you win games. I think is just playing on that edge and but not going over the line. And some of that's going to factor into like how tight are the refs calling it and stuff like that. But I mean, it's a lot like you got to feel out the game and play to the physicality level that you're allowed to. And I think that they do that well on the Commanders' defensive front. I like them this year. Um,
Yeah, I mean, in that playoff game last year, I had all hopes that they were going to be the ones to take out the Eagles. They couldn't get it done. But in the same respect, the Eagles absolutely fucking destroyed my Chiefs. It was an incredibly embarrassing loss, something that's never happened in Mahomes' career. Um, but I still don't think, I still think they could have won. I don't think the Eagles were all that great, but the Eagles had a different game that nobody could stop, and it was on both sides of the ball. But yeah, I'm looking at the Commanders. They were 12-5 last year. I'm looking at them to still make the playoffs. I'd be interested to check out their strength of schedule for this year. I do believe it's a tougher, from what I've seen, it is a tougher strength this year. And they're playing some really, really good teams, including the Chiefs. And I just got a feeling we're looking at a 9-10 win team. I still think they're going to be pretty good. I just don't think. I think after last year, people would expect them probably to be an absolute front runner for the top of the NFC, and I just don't think they're going to be that team. I think they're going to be a top 6 to 8 team in an NFC, possibly play a wild card game and hope for the best when it comes to the playoffs.
well, while I
Other
appreciate the
team,
take, I just can't agree with that. I don't know. I like the Commanders. I can't say enough good things about them right now. I think Dan Quinn's got that squad ready to play. Hopefully, I don't look like a fool in a couple weeks. I'll go right into my second pick. And we'll kind of stop picking on the NFC East for a minute, but I don't want to leave the conference in general. And I think it's this. I mentioned this a little bit in my overperforming with the LA Rams, but the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, I think there's a lot of hype around that team. I think Kyle Shanahan is potentially one of the more overrated head coaches of maybe all time.
I
Maybe all time.
disagree with you on that point, but so far I'm agreeing with everything else you say.
I mean, something about Kyle Shanahan. I appreciate his offensive mind. I think he, unlike Sean McVay, has not been able to develop a all-encompassing head coaching mindset. I still think that he is too convinced that the game is won on one side of the ball and doesn't really give enough attention to the other side and the scheming, and he's not involved enough. I'm sure that
Can we
he's
call
involved to
him?
some level.
Can we call him like the Philip Rivers of head coaches?
I
Like he'll just
think
never get the job done, but he's still a Hall of Fame coach at the end of the day
you
because
think
of what he
I
has
think we need to
accomplished.
have a conversation about if Philip Rivers is a Hall of Famer. Uh,
I I think he is. I think Philip Rivers had a phenomenal career
I
up
would
until he went to the Colts.
I would call Kyle Shanahan, if I had to put a word to it, I would call him the Trey Young, to make an NBA reference, the Trey Young of NFL head coaches. And by that, I mean he razzles, he dazzles, he puts up buckets, but he doesn't get back. He crumbles at times, and I don't think he's a very big team player. I don't think that he, around that organization, is involved in as much stuff as he should be as a head coach. I think he's very centrally focused. Um, and I think that's the reason why they don't get it done, is he has just such tunnel vision, and he has a very singular mindset as to what's going to get the job done. And he's very good at that. I think he's very well suited to be a coordinator, an offensive coordinator anywhere in the world. I think he can be maybe a head coach, but I, I think he's on the middle, in the middle to low tier spectrum of head coaches, as far as, like, obviously the team success, but they've been very fortunate that who's the head of that organization, John Lynch, right now, is GM or something like that. He's been very fortunate that the organization has gone out and put together really, really talented rosters. They've drafted pretty well. They've gotten rid of problems. Like, the organization as a whole has handled the thing. I think it's been very light work for Kyle Shanahan to actually be the head coach and be successful. I think there's places where you go and it's the organization stops you from being successful. And I think that Cincinnati can be one of those places, although I don't like Zach Taylor and I think he should be fired. And we can talk about that another time. But you can think of, like, maybe the Dallas Cowboys and their head coaching carousel. You can think of the Jacksonville Jaguars if you want a better example of an absolutely shambles organization, that when they do have, like, people in jobs who are potentially, good enough to do their jobs, the organization around them crumbles. I think the 49ers are the exact opposite of that, where they have a absolute solid foundation, a fantastic organization around them. They have a great accumulation of talent, players, mix of young players and veterans, and they have that revolving door, and they get rid of issues like Alden Smith, and other, they get rid of issues before they become too big of an issue. Jimmy G is an example of that as well, or like other QBs that they've run through there. They're not afraid to move to the next best thing, so that they're like the perfectly run organization, as you will. And I think that the only place that they're lacking really is that scheming. Like, I think with an elite head coach, if you were to take Andy Reid, if you were to take Bill Belichick, if you were to take even like a Tony Dungy, and put them in San Francisco these past few years, let's just say the past 5 years, I think that they would have a Super Bowl to show for it. I think they would have at least one Super Bowl. Now, I understand that Christian McCaffrey has had some injury issues, but they did just get him on like a whim, and they had some other solid running backs, and they've had other injury bug issues, but they had 3 or 4 years of good, solid, healthy players, and they got to the near peak of the mountain and weren't able to overcome those thresholds. And I don't think that's necessarily a fault of the players or the organization, and that's why I'm putting it on Kyle Shanahan. He's a common denominator there. They've had different quarterbacks, they've had different defensive leaders, but he has been there that whole time. So you look for common denominators and you point them out. They were projected at 11-6 by ChatGPT. I think they're going to be closer to a 500 team. I think they're going to be a 9-win team. I don't think they're going to win the division. I think the Rams are going to win that division. I think they're projected to be the division winner. So I'm going to say they're underperforming that. They're going to not win the division. They're going to be a wild card team in the NFC playoffs.
I think you're giving too much credit there. I don't disagree with you. I still think Shanahan's a pretty good coach. I mean, I kind of got to sit at the the front steps there, watching two of their Super Bowls that they couldn't get it done. One, they had it kind of in the bag, and then part of me says that they dropped the ball and let it go and got a little too cocky too early, and that can certainly fall to the head coach. And the other half says just Mahomes took over that game in the first one, and then in the second one, much closer if I remember correctly. And there wasn't just like one side. Actually, they could have been like doing well in that, and Mahomes didn't have Tyreek Hill to just bomb it down the field to. He won it with Juju Smith-Schuster as his top wide receiver. Um, yeah, I don't disagree though. I think they're still injury ridden. We don't know what McCaffrey's going to be able to do this year. Ayuk is not going to be starting out the beginning of the year.
I'm a little worried
They
about
lost Deebo Samuel.
I'm a little worried about Christian too. I mean, they made that Brian Robinson trade seemingly in the dead of night, after there were a lot of, a couple weeks of good reports about Christian McCaffrey, and then it all of a sudden became he's not as explosive in
He had
practice.
it last year
And
too, and then
yeah,
he didn't play.
and now they're they brought in Brian Robinson, and they have a tendency of doing this, making sneaky moves. Like they had the issue last year where they didn't report the injury properly or whatever it was. I don't know if you remember
Yeah,
that with
I
Christian.
do.
So there's
People
um
thought he was going to play. I
yeah.
think people even started them on their fantasy lineup, expecting him to play a game, and they're like, "Yeah, by the way, he's like kind of done for the year." Like, what are we? So that is a coaching issue too. So I'll give you credit on that part with Shanahan, but I don't know. I don't think they're going to be good. I'm going to go ahead and say my last team here that I think will underperform. Um, and I've been kind of because I'm interested on your take. This is going to be a good one.
Okay.
And this is not a jab at you, but I think with two of the two extremely good receivers, they're locked up. No contract issues this year.
Hmm.
Just locked up a key defensive part, even though there's a lot of pieces there, and then have arguably, at least last year, the best quarterback in the league. I think the Bengals are going to underperform what is probably expected this year out of a team like that.
Yeah. So you should be able to see it now. By the way, I provided you with the records. 10-7 is what they're projected at. So you're
Look
saying
at that.
you're saying under 10 wins, huh?
I think they're another 9-win team. I think they pull out a couple big ones. I'm interested. This is another one we'd have to like deep dive and go line by line on who they're playing. That line scares the shit out of me. The thing that will make me put my foot in my mouth is we can go back in the history since Burrow has been there. At least we can go back in the history of the Bengals and what happens during the preseason era. Right? We've got Jamar Chase can't catch the football, and then they start playing real meaningful games, and Jamar Chase becomes number one receiver in the league. And then we got the line can't block, in the playoffs a few years ago with the Bengals. And then they come and play the Chiefs with a top five defense who didn't get back to him in the backfield not one time that entire game. Talk about Chris Jones and some really good people on that line. Couldn't touch Joe Burrow, even though he got sacked 9 times the game before. Couldn't sack him at all. They win the game. They go to the Super Bowl. They've proven me wrong. But that line and just the boneheaded decision to put your franchise star who has had a history with injuries out there for preseason to watch him just get pummeled like that is concerning. And I'm not sure what that organization is doing. I would say even more if they didn't lock up Trey Hendrickson. Love him or hate him. He led in sacks last year, correct? Or was like second in sacks?
He bled 17.5.
Led in sacks. And that defense needs all the help they can get, whether he's the greatest out there or not. That defense needs the help.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
so between the line and the defense, I'm not convinced they're going to get over 9 wins.
I'm not a big. I think that they should. I've been of the opinion that they should be drafting defensive backs and not defensive front members in the first round. They went on the potential of Shamar Stewart, and then obviously we immediately have issues. They always are immediately having issues with players. Mike Brown's a horrible owner. The Brown family needs to sell the team. They're detriment to football. The league should step in and force them to sell the team for sure. Their front office needs to be cleared out. The coaching staff needs to be cleared out. I have no faith in Zach Taylor's ability. The only thing I do have faith in is the talent of the players on the team. And on the offensive side of the ball, there's no better or no more talented team in the league. You can make individual arguments, but as a culmination of skill, position, talent, I don't think you could argue that any team has in excess of more talent than the Cincinnati Bengals. Trey Hendrickson, I'm not a fan of him. But we need him to be successful. We need highlights. I mean, we need the defensive line to get to the quarterback in like 2 seconds. We need them to be like literally record setting with the way that our defensive secondary plays terrible. And that's what it's going to come down to. It's going to come down to, can our corners and safeties hold up for long enough for the defensive front to get there? They have proven for the last 3 years that they are incapable of doing so. They get, especially in crunch time, uh, they just get absolutely owned by middling wide receivers. I mean, OBJ in the Super Bowl was kind of having a day for a while, and this was like OBJ that played like 0 games all season, had like
Yep.
3 targets or some nonsense. I don't know what the actual stats are, but it was ridiculously low. They let him absolutely just cut them up. Um, just time and time again, they're giving up enormous leads. If you can't hold the defense under 30, then you shouldn't be a professional football squad. I mean, you shouldn't be getting paid millions of dollars. I don't know what the total salary of the entire defense is, but they should. Trey Hendrickson being sack leader or not, I mean, it's easy to be good on a bad team. It's easy to be the highlight of a bad team. It's hard to be really good on a good team like Michael Strahan, OCU Manura, Justin Tuck, like those guys. It's hard for them to individually stand out because all of them, the combination of them, were so good. That it was like it's just coming from all angles. Trey Hendrickson had 17 and a half sacks last year. The next Bengal closest to him in sacks had like 5.
Yeah.
It's like not even close. I think it's Joseph Asai, or is it Joseph? It's Asai for sure, but and he had like most of them in like the last 3 games of the season. So it's like, you can't play like that. A lot of people make a lot of waves about the slow starts to the season. Obviously you got to get that turned around. You got to be consistent throughout the season. Um, it's all on the defense and defensive staff. I mean, the one year that our defense was playing pretty well, and we lost to the Chiefs in the playoffs. They had Lou Anarumo was the next head coach. He was going to have a head coaching job the next year or whatever. He didn't. I'm not saying that he's a bad defensive coordinator or whatever, but he's obviously last year could not get the guys motivated to play one good down of football. I wouldn't say that they played a singular good down of like maybe against the Chiefs early. I was a little bit peeved about the pass interference call. I mean, it was simultaneous to the eye. Obviously, if you look at something frame by frame, you're going to be able to see that maybe it was by the letter of the law pass interference, but it to not get into it, outside of like a couple of plays, there you may have played like 3 or 4 good defensive snaps out of hundreds played
And
on the year. So that something's
it
got to change
almost
here.
felt it almost felt as if he was doing it to like for whatever reason stay with the organization, like almost like a tank to stay kind of thing, which is it felt weird because that I mean, I remember hearing the same thing, like this is the next head coach, and then after last season, I was like, where? You know? It's not there. But
I'm going to pick an AFC team, so it doesn't look like I'm picking on the NFC too much. It's going to be the Denver Broncos. They're projected 9-8. I think that they're going to be third in the division. I think they're going to finish below the Raiders. Um, I think that Bo Nix is a phony. I think that their defense is very good. I think that their running game will be good. I always trust Denver's running game. I think that they're not going to be able to pass the ball as effectively as they were able to last season. I think now that Bo Nix is on tape, I think the defensive coordinators will figure him out. I don't think he does anything particularly excellent. I think he's very average, top to bottom. I would say that they're going to win, maybe 5 or 6 games. Um, and I think that they will flip flop with the Raiders. So I think the Raiders might go like 9-8 ish. Somehow I know that I went down through the list and like just picked out their wins, but that was like, an unbiased perspective. Somehow I think they're going to find a way to win a couple more games and just outperform the, uh, Denver Broncos. I think Denver is just in general just an overhyped team. I don't know why people like to like Denver, but they're just one of those teams that like the general public just likes to like for whatever reason, and they just don't. Nothing about them impresses me.
yeah, I mean, I agree with that. like everything you said. I think Bo Nix is going to get figured out. To be fair, I do like Sean Payton, and I think if anybody can kind of turn that around, it's him. But at the same time, like with a Hall of Famer like Drew Brees, like those last multiple years weren't great at all. And there was a reason why Drew Brees ended up like, yep, I think it's time. Like I was it his time was up, but maybe we could have got another year or two out of him if they were competitive, and it just didn't feel that way. And this team feels the same way. It's a slightly above average team, and if they're not playing at that slightly above average, they're going to lose games. And I agree. I think they're going to lose more than 7 games this year as opposed to last year. I just don't see it at all. So, um, moving on to cap off the show, let's go ahead and just get an early season MVP. Vote out there. I'm going to let you go first, and you tell me who you think this year's MVP is going to be.
So I think this year's MVP is going to be. That's a good question. I'd like to say a non-quarterback. I'd like for it to be a non-quarterback. I
We'd
think,
always like that, but I don't see it happening.
yeah, I don't see it happening either. I think that this season's MVP, um, I'm going to give it to my boy Joe Burrow. I think that they're going to overperform your expectations and everybody's expectations. I think that they're going to win the division. This tends to happen in the AFC North where, a team will you know, they take turns a lot as far as winning the division, except for the Cleveland Browns who just don't. But
Right.
between Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and the Ravens, they tend to kind of flip flop a ton. Um, I don't think it's going to be Pittsburgh this year. I think that the Ravens are going to have, so the Ravens have the Bengals number kind of. Um, the Steelers kind of do too, honestly, but Steelers maybe more so than the Ravens even. But I think that the Ravens will have the Bengals number this year. I think at best we're looking at a split, but what I think really is going to hurt the Ravens, I think somehow the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers' old ass, and the Steelers are going to somehow sweep the Ravens, and it's just going to be like one of those things where they have the same record, but the Bengals have the tiebreaker from uh division record, because I think they're going to split their series, so it'll go to division record, and I think that it'll be something along the lines of like 4-2 to you know 3-3, 4-2 to 3-3 or something like that. And I think it's going to be because the Steelers are going to have the Ravens number. That's my prediction. And then I think out of that, Burrow's going to get more hype. I don't know how this happened, how I went on that tangent. I completely lost track. But Joe Burrow, because of that, winning the division, beating Lamar in that division, as far as like for the division title, being a higher playoff seed, and obviously I think that his passing numbers are going to have to be outrageous. Um, Maybe akin to last year, maybe more passing yards, maybe more passing touchdowns. You might be looking at like some record setting statistics with how bad their defense is, and for them to still be in the hunt. So I think that that combination of things is going to get Joe Burrow the nod, if they can lock up an early playoff seed. Um, so that's my preseason prediction. All feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, just real quick to kind of chin off you. I mean, if the Bengals can take down the Ravens, I think Lamar he's not my pick, but I think he's going to be in that top 3 conversation again. I think that offense gets better this year somehow. And if you guys can take him out and his stats are at least last year's numbers, if not better, I could 100% agree with you that that is a hell of a pick for MVP. The issue is my MVP pick. Funny enough, I'm also going to stick with my quarterback, and that's going to be Patrick Mahomes. He got a haircut. I don't know if you noticed. So we got a different guy out here a little bit with the haircut. He cut some weight. He said the dad bod is no more. He obviously got embarrassed in last year's Super Bowl. We got Travis Kelsey coming back for what looks to be his final season.
And Brittany got
And
new tits, right? That's a big thing.
I think that did happen at some point. Um, I think if you look historically at losses like that, so for example, the loss to Tampa Bay, the loss to you guys in that AFC championship, and now the loss to the Eagles in this Super Bowl, when you see that happen, those are the 3 losses that Mahomes has in the postseason. It is an absolutely revenge fucking tour. And if I'm not mistaken, if he's not first, he is second in MVP voting in all of those.
I'd like to.
I think
I would like to kind of push back on that. In the great words of Ricky Bobby, if you're not first, you're last. Go on.
Okay. I can't argue against that. So we're, and then I'm looking at our wide receiver court now. Of course, this is barring any injuries. That's why it's called the early season MVP.
I don't think injuries are really going to be your problem. I think jail time is going to be your biggest. Criminal record is going to be your biggest.
Do it too. Let's call that a 4-week injury, possibly. But we're also the favorite apparently to Roger Goodell, so maybe there's not a suspension. But there's no jail time. The case is done. I don't think there's going to be any. Actually, that has already been handed out. There is no jail time. He'll have to serve a total of 30 days, which is the next offseason.
Wait, so why is Roger Goodell? Why are you guys Roger Goodell's favorite? Who said that?
Oh, everybody in the league, because the refs play for us and stuff like that. But anyways,
well, at least you admit it.
I think Worthy looked fucking incredible last year as a rookie, and I look to see him to kind of really actually the guy we've been looking for to fill those Tyreek Hill shoes. I think he is absolutely the guy, and I'm excited to see how that happens. He's got the connection with Kelsey. We already know about that. Rashid looked phenomenal up until injury last year. He was wide receiver number 1 until the injury happened. I think we are on the verge of seeing the 50 touchdown, 5,500 yard season like we did from Mahomes in early years with this roster that we have right now. And I've just been trying to channel excitement for the NFL season because I'm still burned really bad from that Super Bowl. But the closer we get, the
I think you'd just be hung over from all the success, honestly. It's kind of boring to be.
I don't disagree with you there. Obviously, of course, I would say that, but I agree as well. And the losses are humbling. And I think, again, it's revenge season. Mahomes is about to take it.
Yeah, I echo those comments. It's been a pleasure doing this for the first time, and I just like to say for the first time of hopefully very many times, this is Billy and the Duke signing off.
Goodbye.